Welcome, you cozy couch potatoes.
Hello again, my cozy couch potatoes. This is Spice Track Studios, the cozy couch, and we are continuing with the city, the people of Sparks. So actually, we're gonna begin with this town meeting chapter that doesn't have a chapter number. It's just like a little page or two. Technically, I'd count it as two because this is like a half page. That's like a half page. And then we go into chapter 18. Chapter 17 was about Dune and the people of Ember and the people of Sparks. There's conflict. Torin threw tomatoes, blamed it on Dune, and now everyone is like, screw those people, get them out of here. There's been mean messages and mean words said and food less getting to them. And Dune has realized, has just learned about winter. Something that he could do, I know this isn't where his brain is going, he should see if Edward can find a book about winter or seasons in his search so he can read about it. Well, that's pretty much the quickest update I've done. Let's get into this little town meeting and then chapter 18. The second town meeting. The three town leaders called a meeting after these unpleasant incidents, the tomato throwing, and the graffiti on the plaza and on the hotel wall. They met in the tower room of the town hall to talk. This is unfortunate, Mary said. I'm afraid these spiteful deeds will cause bad feelings to get worse on both sides. Correct. Wilmer nodded. Feelings are already bad, he said. These cave people... Ben's on the side of being mean. These cave people, said Ben, are not as civilized as we are. Excuse me. Excuse me. No! It's your people writing these messages. It's your people who actually threw the tomatoes. Not the cave people, Ben. Not the cave people, Ben. You're gonna be embarrassed when you learn that. Are not as civilized as we are. People who will destroy 2 whole crates of tomatoes might do anything. Guess what, Ben? That was Torin. So, yeah. We don't know for sure that one of them did it, Mary said. Come now, Mary, said Ben. I think it's safe to assume. Guess what, Ben? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Not me specifically, but them. Mary. And your people. And what about the people who wrote, "Go back to your cave" on the hotel wall, said Mary. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. The problem is, said Ben, we don't know who did that. Let's just throw away Ben. Throw him in the river. Little much, but let's do it. We don't know who did that, but I must say that I think they were expressing an understandable frustration. Ben, are you the one who did this? I feel like you were. These cave people have adversely impacted our way of life. The food we give them comes out of the mouths of our own people. We do have a bit of a surplus in the storehouse, said Mary. But why should we use it for them? It's our protection against hard times. Ben smoothed his beard and went on. I have a rule to suggest, he said. I think it would be best if the cave people didn't eat in the homes of families anymore. I think it's too hard on our families to have strangers eating with them every day. It would be better if the families simply hand them their food parcels when they arrive. They can eat somewhere else. Where? Asked Mary. Ben waved a hand in the direction of the river. On the riverbank, he said, or at the edge of a field, or on the road. I really don't care where they eat, he said, as long as they don't intrude on our households. Dude, Ben. I'm liking you less and less. Quite a few people have complained of the inconvenience, said Wilmer. The Parton family seems the most unhappy. That's because they have Dune, and they think Dune did all this. That's because they have that evil boy, said Ben, the one who threw the tomatoes. Ben! Ben! Dune is not evil! Ugh. I just realized we're still not even in a chapter. We're in the town meeting. Okay. We don't know that he's the one who threw them, said Mary. We are as sure as we need to be, said Ben. So they voted. Should they make that rule? Mary voted no. Ben voted yes. Wilmer hesitated for several seconds, his eyes darting between Mary and Ben. Finally, he voted yes. I suppose this will make things better, said Wilmer. I'm sure it will, said Ben. We need to make it clear that this town belongs to us. This is our place, and these people are only here because of our generosity. I think we have made it clear, said Mary. We went to all that trouble to make a flag and put it up on the town hall. So they did do it after they did their flag. No doubt that will help, said Ben. Still, we must constantly reinforce the message. If they don't behave themselves, they can't expect to stay here even as long as 6 months. They've just begun to get used to things, said Mary. They're not ready to leave. That, said Ben, is not our problem. Ben, I don't like you. I think you're the one writing the messages, or you've told someone to go write the messages. To Ben. Let's go into chapter 18. Back to Lina with Casper's quest. On the last night of their journey to the city, the travelers stayed in a real house. It was roofless, but most of its walls still stood, providing shelter from the wind that blew strongly off the water. There was no furniture in the house, of course. They sat on the bare floor. Casper was excited that night. He talked so much that he almost forgot to eat. His third traveler's cake sat on his knee, getting cold. At one point, he turned to face Lina. Now listen, he said. I'm going to tell you something, so you'll understand the importance of what we are doing. He paused. Then he spoke in a low, vibrating voice. I happen to know, he said, that there is a treasure in the city. There is, said Lina. How do you know? Old rhymes and songs speak of it, said Casper. The trouble is, said Maddie, those old rhymes and songs don't make sense anymore, if they ever did. They make sense to me, Casper said, but that's because I've studied them carefully and have found out their deeper meaning. What do the old rhymes say? Lina asked. Various things, said Casper, depending on what version you hear, but they're always about a treasure in an ancient city. An ancient city. I wonder if that's actually talking about Ember or one of the other underground cities, and not that city. Because Ember is older than their city for sure, but probably not older than that city, but that city was destroyed after Ember was made. I wonder what the treasure would be, though. All right. He looked into the air and sang tunelessly. There's buried treasure in the ancient city. Remember from times of old. One of them starts like that. Why hasn't anyone searched for the treasure before? Asked Lina. I'm sure many people have, Casper said, but no one has found it. How do you know? Lina asked. Because obviously if someone had, we would have heard about it. Lina thought about this. She saw some holes in Casper's logic. Someone could have found the treasure, taken it away, and never said a word. True, Lina, true. Another problem, said Maddie, is that these rumors never say what city the treasure is in. It could be some city 1,000 miles away. Or underground. Casper gave an exasperated sigh and set down his cup of water. He raised 2 fingers and pointed them at Maddie. Listen, he said. Be logical. It's here that the rumors are passed around. I've never heard them in the far north, where I was last year. I've never heard them in the far east either. This talk of treasure in a city, I hear it here, and within 100 miles or so of here. Still, Maddie said, Ember's not too far away from there. I mean, how many days did they walk? I don't know what way they came from, but still. Anyway. But only one great ancient city, said Casper. That's the one we're going to. A city is big, Lina said, remembering the myriad streets and buildings of Ember. How will you know where in the city to look for the treasure? How will you know where in the city to look for the treasure? A crafty look came over Casper's face. He's like, oh, she's asking the right questions. He smiled, with his lips pressed together and his eyes narrowed. That's where my careful study comes in, he said. Many, many hours of study. I've written down every version of the rhyme I've heard, which is a great many, 47 to be exact. I've compared them word for word, letter for letter. Then, Casper paused. He looked at them in a way Lina recognized. It was the same way Torin looked when he was about to make a big impression. Then I applied my skill with numbers. Numbers? Said Lina. That's right. What you do is you count the letters in the words, you count in all different ways until you start to see a pattern. The pattern is the key to the code, and the code tells you the secret of the message. He sat back, looking highly pleased with himself. I don't think that's right, Casper. I don't think that's right. I think you're supposed to solve the riddle, not add math. And the secret of the message, Lina said, confused, is the location of the treasure, of course. Casper slapped a hand on his big thigh. It's obvious once you've figured it out. Street numbers, building numbers, it's all there. Well then, said Maddie, what is the location of the treasure? Casper jerked his head back. You think I'd tell you? He said. You don't know, Casper. You don't know. I thought I was your partner in this, said Maddie. You'll know when it's time, said Casper. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. You'll know. You have enough information. No, I need all the information, if you want my help, said Casper. Until then, the information stays strictly with me. Lina glanced at Maddie in time to see her rolling her eyes toward the sky. I feel you, Maddie. That night, Lina couldn't sleep. Animal sounds kept her awake, scrambling and snuffling just beyond the walls, and a strange hooting in the distance. Dark thoughts troubled her too. Casper's search sounded all wrong somehow. She didn't want to help him. The thought of it filled her with dread. She lay on the hard floor of the house, staring at the black sky, feeling worse and worse until finally she decided she must try to think about something else. So she said to herself over and over for a long time, tomorrow I'll see the city. Tomorrow I'll see the city. They traveled the next day, mile after mile, along a road that was nearly straight, though they had to trace a winding path around the places where the pavement was pitted or thrust up or crumpled away. On their right was the vast green sheet of water, bordered by waving grasses where great white birds stood knee-deep in pools and rose like floating paper. And flocks of blackbirds flew up, trilling into the air, their shoulders red as blood. On the left was a forest of trees so thick they hid all but the briefest glimpses of the ruined buildings among them. Lina's excitement was rising. She rode standing up now. She climbed back into the crate and stuck her feet between the third and fourth slats of the side, which put her at the right height for holding on to the top edge and looking forward. She could see over Casper's and Maddie's heads to the rear ends of the oxen, their sharp hip bones sticking up, left, right, their tasseled tails switching back and forth. The sun sank lower in the sky until it was directly ahead, blazing straight into Lina's eyes. We'll be there before night, Casper said. The road began to slope upward. Hills rose on either side, and soon Lena could no longer see the water, just the brown humps of the hills, spotted with clumps of trees and scarred here and there by the remains of old roads and buildings. The air was cooler. They rounded a curve, and all at once the city lay before them. That is it for that little mini chapter in chapter 18. I am so excited to learn about the city and this treasure. I want to know if I'm right, and will they have to venture down back into the city? I don't know. I don't know. I'm so excited, though. Can't wait to learn more. I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to share if you like my content. Have a good one. Bye.